In just 1 year, Pollo went from being a nobody who never won a tournament to becoming the best player in the world, winning Fortnite's global championship. But how did he do it? Well, throughout his career, Pollo used 3 genius strategies to outsmart Fortnite and ensure he would become a global champion. Today, we're going to cover them all. Pollo's journey in Fortnite started off rough for one main reason. He wasn't that good. He began playing Fortnite casually at just 9 years old, falling in love with the game as he played more and more each day. Slowly, Pollo began improving, inching closer to his dream of competing seriously. Finally, he decided to take a step that would change his life. At only 10 years old, Pollo entered his first Fortnite tournament, but here was the catch. Fortnite's competitive scene has strict age limits. Players need to be at least 13 to compete in official tournaments. For most kids, this rule would have ended their journey, but Pollo saw it differently. To him, these restrictions weren't barriers, they were just hurdles. He began finding ways to sneak into tournaments and playing them illegally. So then how did Pollo perform in these early tournaments? As I mentioned, Pollo started out rough. His first tournament was the Share the Love event, where only he made it to the contender division. Over the next year, his best finish was 549th in a week of solo qualifiers. Most of his other placements were in the thousands. Even though Pollo was struggling, there was something different about him. He never gave up. Day and night, he trained, getting a little better with every tournament, and slowly, his rankings began to climb. Then in August 2020, Pollo achieved his first earnings ever. At just 12 years old, he placed 11th in the FNCS solo qualifiers on NA West, taking home $300. It may have not have been a lot, but for Pollo, it meant everything. That small win was more than just prize money, it was validation. Pollo knew he could compete with the pros, and this taste of success only fueled him further. With his first paycheck, Pollo's journey in competitive Fortnite had truly begun. Pollo took his new confidence and ran with it. Over the next few months in 2020, he kept competing in Fortnite tournaments, slowly earning more and more money, his first $300, then $200. Eventually, he qualified for the NA West FNCS finals, where he finished in the top 60 and earned a big $400. Pollo was actually getting pretty good, but there was a problem. He still wasn't old enough to make money playing Fortnite. He was still only 12 and you need to be 13 to make money. So how did he get away with this? It was risky, but it would be the first strategy Pollo would use to outsmart Epic Games. Pollo would lie about his age to make sure he made his money. This was extremely risky, but how much would you risk for your passion? For Pollo, it was everything. Competing at his age wasn't just difficult though, it was dangerous. Every tournament entry, every game, he was taking a gamble. At any moment, one wrong move, one slip up, and he would be banned from Fortnite for good. But to Pollo, the possibility of losing it all wasn't enough to make him stop. He kept joining tournaments, inching closer to the pros with every match. Sure, he was underage, but he was determined to prove he belonged. His name started popping up more frequently in the leaderboards, and slowly but surely, people began to notice. By no means was he a pro just yet, but finally people in the Fortnite community would start recognizing his name. And this attention would lead to a massive breakthrough for Pollo. Since he started getting better, better players would want to play with him. So 2 players, Ghouls and Levi, would want to team up with him, and this trio was going to change everything for Pollo. It was late 2021 and the Fortnite Grand Royale was just around the corner. For the first time, Pollo had really good players by his side, players who matched his dedication and shared his vision. The stakes high, but so was Pollo's confidence. This tournament would be his chance to prove himself as a real pro player, not just to his teammates, but to the entire Fortnite community. When the Grand Royale kicked off, Pollo and his team poured everything into each game. They battled their way through the most intense competition they'd ever faced, ultimately securing a spot in the finals. And although they placed 30th out of 33 teams, it was still a massive achievement. Pollo had shown he could hold his own in one of the toughest arenas in competitive Fortnite. This placement, while not a victory, was a huge milestone for Pollo, making all the late nights and grinding worth it. The Grand Royale was the moment he had been working towards, and now he knew he was ready to chase even greater heights. Pollo took his momentum and ran with it. By the time 2022 came around, the Fortnite season switched to all duos, meaning Pollo needed to find a partner that could match his skills. So he teamed up with Caesar, another rising Fortnite talent whose playstyle fit perfectly with Pollo's strategic approach. Together, him and Caesar quickly turned heads in the FNCS duo circuit, impressing players with their teamwork and skill. Their first season together in FNCS was challenging, but they pushed through qualifiers, refining their teamwork and communication with each match. By the time they reached the FNCS Grand Finals, it was clear that the partnership had serious potential. They clinched an insane 18th place finish, marking Pollo's highest placement yet and earning him over $1,000. It was a massive breakthrough. But Pollo didn't think this was good enough. He wanted more. He wanted to make millions of dollars like the pros. So Pollo would take a massive risk. He decided to part ways with Caesar even though they were doing well together, to team up with Zio, a player Pollo believed had even more talent. However, this turned out to be a big mistake. In the next FNCS, Pollo and Zio couldn't match the success him and Caesar had. Although they still made it to the finals, they placed in 35th place, much lower than expected. It seemed like Pollo's risky choice wasn't paying off, but he wasn't ready to give up. Pollo had a plan. Under Pollo's guidance, him and Zio went back to the drawing board. They analyzed their games, pinpointed mistakes, and adjusted their strategies. Their commitment to improving paid off as they gained more synergy and nailed their gameplay together. The next FNCS season was their chance to redeem themselves, and this time they delivered. Their hard work and dedication showed in their results as they managed to climb back up the leaderboard, placing in 15th position. This improvement marked a turning point in Pollo's journey. His decision to stick with Zio was beginning to pay off. He proved to everyone watching and to himself that he had what it took to overcome setbacks, recalibrate, and then keep pushing forward. But again, 15th wasn't enough for Pollo as he wanted to win. So he would again leave Zio to go find another teammate, and this new teammate was going to be his best one yet. Pollo would team up with a player named Defiable, who was a major player in the Fortnite community. He was extremely experienced and had a ton of accolades. So finally, it was looking like Pollo could win his first FNCS. While things didn't go to plan at all, the duo sucked, it just didn't work like before. Pollo and Defiable kept getting knocked out in the qualifiers, but then, out of nowhere, they would shock the world. Pollo knew something we didn't, because just as they started falling off the radar, the team had a secret tactic in mind. A tactic to outsmart the competition, and it would work like a charm. Out of nowhere, they would finish second in FNCS and Pollo would win a massive $12,000. Pollo seemed on track to become one of the best Fortnite players in the world. He was earning more money than ever before, and his tactics were so sharp that he could outsmart players with 10 times his experience. It felt like nothing could stop him, but then one night, everything changed for him. Imagine waking up one day to find out your entire gaming world has changed. That was exactly what Pollo experienced when Fortnite announced a major shakeup. The servers for NA West and NA Central would be merged. For a lot of players, this meant an entirely new level of competition. For Pollo, it threatened everything he worked for. NA West was his comfort zone, the region where he knew the players, the strategies, and their playstyles. But now, he was being thrown into a bigger pool, where he'd be up against the top talent from NA Central. It was like going from playing a local league straight into the NBA. The change was immediate, and so were the challenges. Suddenly, the techniques and tactics that had brought him success were being tested by stronger, faster opponents. The differences between NA West and East players were small, but Pollo rarely felt them. NA East was known for its faster pace and aggressive players, a style that was tougher to counter and one Pollo hadn't yet mastered. He struggled to keep up and the odds seemed stacked against him. But this was Pollo. Instead of letting these setbacks stop him, he doubled down. He spent hours studying the new competitive landscape, watching and analyzing top NA East players, practicing new strategies, and fine-tuning his mechanics. He was determined to not just adapt, but to dominate. Then, his persistence finally paid off. Pollo partnered with Sphinx, a skilled player from NA East who knew the ins and outs of the new competitive arena. Together, they worked tirelessly, blending Pollo's raw tactical talent with Sphinx's knowledge of the competition. In their very first FNCS together, Pollo and Sphinx placed third, making the most money he's ever earned, $34,000. This massive win was just the beginning for Pollo and his new duo partner, Sphinx. Their performance earned them a spot in the FNCS Global Championship in Denmark, and they were more than ready for the challenge. In Denmark, they faced off against the best players from around the world, each team aiming for the top prize. Pollo and Sphinx didn't back down, they played with everything they had. They finished 16th out of 50 teams, a huge achievement. Pollo was finally becoming one of the best players in the world. Just as things were looking up for Pollo, tension started to build between him and Sphinx. Pollo's skills were improving rapidly. He was working harder than ever before, studying pro tactics around the clock, and it showed. Every tournament, Pollo seemed to be carrying Sphinx. He was outgrowing his teammates, and Pollo knew that if he wanted to reach the top, he couldn't have anyone holding him back. So it was time for a change, and this decision would ultimately set Pollo on the path to becoming one of the best players in the world, thus marking his second genius strategy. Peterbot, known by everyone as the best Fortnite player in the world, started to take notice of Pollo. Since they shared the same coach, Peterbot kept an eye on Pollo's tournaments and quickly saw that Pollo was carrying Sphinx to impressive wins. Peterbot recognized Pollo's unique talent and potential, so he decided to reach out and ask Pollo to team up with him. It wasn't long after they connected that it became clear they had something special. Peterbot's aggressive playstyle paired perfectly with Pollo's tactical approach, and their synergy was almost instant. They didn't just play together, they operated as one. Pollo brought a calm, calculated strategy to each game, while Peterbot delivered fast-paced, bold moves that kept his opponents on edge, because we all know Peterbot is the best fighter in the world. Their tournament together was insane. The Fortnite community quickly took notice as they dominated match after match. They would end up winning the Duo Cash Cup, winning them $1,600, and this was just the beginning. Then came Pollo and Peterbot's big debut in FNCS, where they shocked everyone with a dominating performance. Despite only having teamed up for a few months, they finished second in the FNCS NA Finals, scoring an impressive 700 points and taking home $45,000. In any other division, they would have claimed first place, but Golden Acorn delivered one of the best performances ever, scoring 900 points to clinch the win. Nonetheless, Pollo and Peterbot had made a statement. They were a duo to be reckoned with. But still, Pollo and Peterbot were not satisfied with this win. So then when the next chapter rolled around, Pollo came up with the third genius strategy to outsmart the competition to ensure that they would never lose. In Fortnite, knowledge is power, and Pollo had just found the ultimate cheat code. There was a new point of interest on the map, a little known spot called Grim Gates, and it held a game-changing secret, a medallion that allowed infinite dashes. While players ignored Grimgates, Pollo and Peterbot made it their home base, recognizing that this medallion could change the course of any match. With its power, they could reposition instantly and outmaneuver opponents in ways no one had seen before. Game after game, they showed just how powerful this newfound ability was, using it to stay one step ahead and dominate the competition. Their performance skyrocketed as they crushed every duo cash cup that season. It didn't take long for others to notice though. Word spread through the community, and soon other pros started to catch on. Players began contesting Grimgates, but Pollo and Peterbot held their ground. No player could mess with Peterbot's fighting ability, so every time they held it down. Grimgates wasn't just a location, it was their stronghold. So then when FNCS would roll around, they were determined to win, and since they had mastered their strategy, they would completely dominate. On the first day, they broke the record for most points won. So by day 2, it was almost guaranteed that they would win, and all they had to do was sit back and relax. And well, they didn't. They would put the pedal on the metal and go all in, playing as aggressive as possible. They didn't care about winning. They wanted the biggest win ever, and guess what? They got it. Achieving 1,092 points with 5 wins out of 12 games, winning FNCS by 333 points, which is such a massive win, it was unheard of. The next came FNCS Major 3 of 2024, and again Peterbot and Pollo wanted nothing more than to win, but there was something wrong. Winning back-to-back FNCSs are basically unheard of. It's so rare in fact that the last person to do it was Booger. But not only that, there was something a lot worse. With the global championships coming up, players from around the world were eager to qualify. In places like Europe, the competition was very tough, with top players fighting for just a few spots. To improve their chances, some of the best players decided to move to America and compete in the NA FNCS, where they felt that they had a better shot at qualifying for the global championships. This made the NA tournaments even more exciting and competitive. So really the odds were stacked against Peterbot and Pollo, and they started crumbling under the pressure. Last season, Pollo and Peterbot had won every tournament they entered, but this season was different. Other players were catching onto their strategy, and stronger players from Europe had joined the NA circuit, making their competition even tougher. Pollo and Peterbot weren't winning as easily anymore, but they still made it to the FNCS finals. In the finals, things didn't go as planned though. After the first day, they were in second place, just behind Clicks and an EU player named Vino. Almost no one believed that they could pull off a back-to-back win, and it seemed like this might not be their season after all. So what have we learned from Pollo's story? He doesn't give up. When things looked tough, Pollo and Peterbot pushed harder than ever, playing with incredible skill and determination. Against all odds, when it seemed almost impossible, they won the FNCS again, back-to-back victories, and took home another $70,000. And even though they just shocked the world, you couldn't call Pollo the best player in the world yet. The world stage was calling, and Pollo was ready to answer. The upcoming global championship in Fort Worth in Texas represented the top of competitive Fortnite, a tournament that united the best players from every corner of the globe. This wasn't just another FNCS tournament though, it was the ultimate challenge, where Pollo and Peterbot would go head-to-head with the elite from Europe, Asia, and beyond. Winning here would mean everything. They weren't just North America's best, but the undisputed champions of the world. The competition lasted 2 days, with every elimination and placement adding points. On the second day, there was a twist, a 1.5 times point multiplier, which made everything more intense. This meant that any lead could disappear with just one bad game. Pollo and Peterbot started day one focused, knowing that they needed an early lead. They had spent hours studying how international teams played, learning different strategies, and strengthening their teamwork. They knew everyone was watching, but Pollo wasn't just there to play, he wanted to win it all. By the end of the first day, they had done something amazing. They were in first place with 442 points and held a 147 point lead. But with the 1.5 times multiplier on day 2, nothing was certain. One mistake could cost them everything. As day 2 began, the pressure was even higher. Every move mattered. Pollo and Peterbot stayed focused, using Pollo's strategies and Peterbot's fearless plays to keep them steady, taking it one game at a time. When the final game ended, they had done it. Pollo and Peterbot held onto their lead, winning the Victory Royale and becoming world champions. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you around next time.